Hey guys, it's open court assessment time, so go grab your green book and go grab your assessment, because at the end sometimes I go through this and give you a little clues. So go grab your book and turn to our next story, which is called A Place Called Freedom. Alright guys, let's turn to page 284 and we're going to read our last story called A Place Called Freedom by Scott Russell Sanders. Down in Tennessee, on the plantation where I was born, Mama worked in the big house and Papa worked in the fields. The master of that big house set us free in the spring of 1832, when I was 7 years old and my sister Letty was 5. Papa called Letty a short drink of water because she was little and wriggly, and he called me a long gulp of air because I was tall and full of talk. As soon as we could pack some food and clothes, we left the plantation, heading north for Indiana. Our aunts and uncles and cousins who were still slaved hugged us hard and waved until we were out of sight. Papa said it would be safer to travel at night. How are we going to find our way in the dark? I asked him. We'll follow the drinking gourd, Papa answered. He pointed to the glittery sky, and I saw he meant the Big Dipper. He showed me how to find the North Star by drawing an arrow from the Dipper's lip. Papa loves stars. That's why, when he gave up his old slave's name and chose a new one, he called himself Joshua Starman. And that's why my name is James Starman. It was a weary, long way. Night after night as we traveled, the buttery bowl of the moon filled up, then emptied again. When Letty got tired, she rode on Papa's shoulders for a while, or on Mama's hip, but I walked the whole way on my own feet. At last, one morning, just after the sunrise, we came to the Ohio River. A fisherman with his face as wrinkled as an old boot carried us over the water in his boat. On the far shore, we set our feet on the free soil of Indiana. White flowers covered the hills that day like feathers on a goose. By and by, we met a Quaker family who took us into their house, gave us seed, and loaned us a mule and a plow, all because they believed that slavery was a sin. We helped on their farm, working shoulder to shoulder, and we planted our own crops. That first year, Papa raised enough corn and wheat for us to buy some land beside the Wabash River, where the dirt was as black as my skin. Papa could grow anything. He could handle horses, and he could build a barn or a bed. Before winter, Papa and Mama built us a sturdy cabin. Every night we sat by the fire, and Papa told stories that made the shadows dance. Every morning, Mama held school for Letty and me. Mama knew how to read and write from helping with lessons for the master's children. She could sew clothes that fit like you would like the wind, that would fit you like the wind, and her cooking made your tongue glad. While the ground was still frozen, Papa rode south through the cold nights, down to the plantation in Tennessee. We fretted until he showed up again at our door, leading 2 of my aunts, 2 uncles, and 5 cousins. They stayed with us until they could buy land near ours and build their own cabins. Again and again, Papa went back to Tennessee, and each time he came home with more of the folks we loved. Hearing about our settlement, black people arrived from all over the South. Some of them freed like us, some of them runaways. There were carpenters and blacksmiths, basket weavers and barrel makers. Soon we had a church, then a store, then a stable, then a mill to grind our grain. For the first time in our lives, we had money, just enough to get by, and we watched every penny. After a few years, the railroad decided to run tracks through our village because so many people had gathered here. If our place was going to be on the map, it needed a name. At a meeting, folks said we should call it Starman in honor of Papa and Mama and Papa. But Mama and Papa said, no, let's name it Freedom. And that's how we came to live in a place called Freedom. We all celebrated the new name by building a school where Mama could teach everyone, young and old, to read and write and do sums. She made me want to learn everything there was to know. When Mama first told me about the alphabet, I wondered how I could ever remember 26 different letters. But I learned them all in a flash. It was like magic to me, the way those letters joined up to make words. Papa's farming was also like magic. He would put seeds in the ground, and before you knew it, here came melon vines or corn stalks. He planted trees, and here came apples or nuts or shade. For a long time, I couldn't decide whether I wanted to grow up and become a farmer like Papa or a teacher like Mama. I don't see why a teacher can't farm, Mama said. I don't see why a farmer can't teach, said Papa. They were right, you know, because I raised the beans and potatoes for supper, and I wrote these words with my own hand. All right, guys, go ahead and grab your open court assessment, and we'll go over a few of these questions. Number 1 and 2, I want you to go over those on your own, and we'll go over 3 and 4 together. I just love this story. It's such a great story of how this city got started and how these people kind of started their own life after they were freed from slavery. So it says, number 3, what is the main reason so many slaves went to Indiana? There was something that it said about Indiana after he got off the boat. Remember, they went on a boat, and he made a comment about going to Indiana. So I want you to look at page 287. There's something about Indiana, which is why they wanted to go there. Okay, so number 4, while on their journey, why was it so important for Papa to find the North Star every single night that they traveled? Okay, that's on 2. I want you to go over page 286. Okay. So, and then number 5, they talk about watching every penny. That's a figure of speech. You're going to have to think about that. What does that actually mean? Does that mean that they just look at the pennies that they have and just stare at them all day long? So I want you to read page 291 again and think about what that means. Okay? And it says, how did the family get from Tennessee to Indiana? I want you to think about this. This is states and states and states that they had to go through, but how did they travel? Okay, and I want you to really think about this, because I want you to go back to 287 and reread that and just think about how crazy it is how they traveled. Number 7, what new name did Papa choose for the family and why? I want you to go to 286. All of these questions are kind of close together. Number 8 and 9, you're on your own for those. Go back in the story. And if you guys have any questions on your assessment, go ahead and let me know.